Okay, and upon further or closer review, I took them out of their packaging. I put their belts on them. The belts easily put on. You got to put a little bit of you got to kind of finesse the little sockets here to get both little divots in there. But even if you can't get both, one works just as well. I've seen. You just kind of basically you're grabbing the part that connects to the other part. You can see right there in the back. Finesse them in there a little bit. It's like one's perfectly balanced and the other one's kind of sticking down a little bit. Okay, so, but of course it's not perfect. I set him down and it came off. I'll try to put that back on. I left his gear on because these are, I'm a loose collector, but these are not for play. The price point for them, the rarity of them, the limited run of them. If this was to break, I wouldn't be able to get another one. So my best bet with these is to basically display them with their belts. Maybe I'm wondering if Ultra is going to become if everyone's going to become with belts. Maybe that's why Missing Link wasn't in the Ultra line, while he's in the AEW Remco remake line, because I don't think he was ever a champion. And that could be the case. Sorry if I'm not looking at the screen. I'm just trying to put the belt back on here. Obviously, with this one, with the gear and such, it does make it harder to put it on because his chaps go right where you'd put the belt across across his waist. And so because of it, it kind of makes it hard because you're not pushing against the figure, you're just pushing now against soft material. And like I said, you just got to kind of finesse it. You just got to kind of, I pull on it slightly, don't pull too hard, you might tear it. And then use my fingernails to try to, pop in if I can. Maybe grab that piece, move that piece a little bit. Obviously I'm not going to press too hard on these. I guess another option I can always do with this is just do it like this and then put it on his shoulder. But I don't remember if you ever wore belts like that. The shoulder thing wasn't a very common thing that I'm aware of. It was always around the waist. So I'm just trying to... Oh, wow. Like I said, some of these... the other ones were easier. This one, for some reason, is giving me a little bit of work. And I think it's just because the plastic is not the hardest, which is good. We saw with Super 7, when you have hard plastic belts, it's really hard to get into those loops, into those little holes, and then next thing you know, you basically got a worthless belt because you can't do anything with it. There we go. Okay, so I finessed them. They're both in there now. So he's just going to have it chilling on his shoulder, which still works. Now, one thing I noticed, you just saw the hand pop off. And it's not necessarily trivial, but I guess it could be trivial, is closed fists. They should have closed fists. At least one closed fist. Wrestling back in the day was hard punching, closed fist, stomp on the back of the shoulder blades, the free meat as we called it back in the wrestling days. So, he does not come with painted on wrist tape. So it is unfortunate because, like I said, it's pictured that he has it. He doesn't have it. So that was either a mess up. But really, this is a very beautiful looking figure. The belt fits like a glove. The belt's just stunning on the figure. He does have a closed fist, which is fine. But he only has an open hand on the other side. And their skin tones don't all match. So I can't just grab one of the other person's and call it a day. So kind of openish hand. It's not like a full-on weird, hand like that, but I feel like closed fist would have done wonders for him because, again, he was a slugfest person. And then my only gripe with these two, being Luthez, again, the tiny belt is perfect. I'm not upset about that. The AWA Championship, first edition, perfect. I just wish they had done different color with Vern. Luthez, black and white TV, he might have had different colors, but unless unless the belts are on, unless you really know what they looked like back in their heyday, they almost are the same figure, except for, chest hair. There's obviously chest and leg hair on one figure again. Back then, they didn't really shave. They didn't keep themselves waxed. They didn't come off with that appearance. They want to be gruff and rough. The towels are an added touch. I like the towels. It's definitely 1950s look to it. The boots are the same. So, I mean, yeah, unless you're like, if you just saw these figures, obviously you're not going to see them at retail, but like, if you just saw these figures, it's hard to differentiate them, really, unless you know they are, who they are, because they're basically in the same attire. So I feel like Vern would have been cool if he had done like a bluish color. I think he did wrestle in blue at sometimes. I could be wrong. I could have swore he did. At least in his old days, when he had the old man. This is obviously young man Vern Gagne, not old near retirement Vern Gagne. The belts are awesome. I'm hoping that this is just the start of so many new belts. I'm hoping that we get the AWA, the bigger gold belts. I know we're getting the WCCW World Heavyweight title. It'd be cool to get the CCW tag belts, maybe with some Von Erichs. I think they held the tag belts, the 6-man tag belts, if I remember correctly. Of course, if you're going to have the Von Erichs entirely, you got to have the Freebirds. And these, like I said, this is basically what the Classic Superstars was. The Classic Superstars line of Jack's days. They didn't go after WWE talent as much. I mean, like, we got Johnny Rhodes, we got all these really, one-off kind of appearances. Now, sad thing is as time's gone on, that plastic is worn down, and those figures are super fragile. So again, if you have those figures, if you if you want to start collecting this line or collecting those, fair warning, they're not designed for play. If you want to actually play with wrestling figures, I'd just stay with the basics. I mean, even the Ultimates and the Elites nowadays. I mean, Ultimates you can still play with because they got more articulation. Basics, knock yourself out. Those are designed to be destroyed and brutally, beaten. Obviously, they're designed for the kids in mind. But even Ultimates nowadays, I find those are just great for posing. The drop-down hips really are scary because I'm afraid that Bret Hart leg's going to snap any second. My Seth seems to have the same issue where if I try to do anything with it, it could snap. Whereas the AEW line figures, they tend to pop, in the torso if you bend them down too far or whatever it is. So these are great for adult collectors. These would not make a great Christmas gift for kids. I mean, unless you really want to see a $45 figure just get demolished. Because it would be demolished pretty quickly. I mean, yeah, there's some stability to them. There's some sturdiness to them. I didn't, like I said, I'm not giving the splits. I'm not leaning them that far. The quality is great. I know we hate soft, good plastic coats, but the fabric it's definitely plastic, but it's like a looser, softer plastic that allows for more movability, and it looks so detailed from it. These are, the chaps are not like Terry Funk's chaps. They're more cloth type, but you can't really tell that's just plastic. I mean, you can't really tell that's just plastic. It's not like hardened plastic. It's not like I'm snapping things to try to get them off. I mean, I could get it off if I want to. It's soft enough plastic I can pull them down, gradually. You can see it. Obviously, it's loose, so it's not, tight bound fitting. You can see the looseness there a little bit. So, and of course, the robe that comes with Vern, that comes with Lou Thesz, is great. Straight out of 1950s looking boxing. The jacket that comes with Vern, again, soft plastic, easy to remove. I was worried a lot of times when I'm taking like Ernie Ladd. I got Ernie Ladd recently. I took the vest off and was very concerned because at any moment I felt the arm was going to snap out. So a lot of these older figures nowadays, if they come with their jackets on or whatever it is, or their gear, I just leave it on. Unless it's cloth, I just leave it on. If it's cloth, I take it off because I don't want staining the figure. Because you never know, you might pose them. I know people do fig photography. I mean, how sick would it be to have this guy, with that chain or whatever it is, just sitting there. I'm going to see if I move the legs here. Like I said, I don't want to snap it. I'm doing it off camera. I mean, they could sit. So you could literally have, like, fig photography where you got, like, Magnum TA or whatever, like, grinding the chain into his forehead or something. He's got the blood. He's like, oh my God, he's bloody. Magnum TA is giving him, obviously, if we had Tully Blanchard, it'd work great. but obviously there'd be no blood. Of course, it's not blood. That's more of like his. I mean, those are basically scars. Bruiser Brody, massive man, from what I heard and watching his behind the dark side of the ring episode. Very nice, gentle person when it comes to the ring. Was crazy and was known to no sell if he felt like you weren't. If he didn't feel like selling, and who was going to make him. And ultimately, because of his explosive, unprofessional demeanor at times by other people's standards, it cost him his life. So obviously that's the older days. People now work together a lot more. But and again, these belts, I just can't get enough of them. I mean, that U.S. title, that United States NWA Championship. I mean, you can't see because it's so shiny as they get closer to it. But look at the detail in it. And again, it says it. It says it right there. It says right here on the top. Now the NWA is in gold. It's not like logoed out. But it says United States Wrestling. Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. So I'm all on board for these. In fact, if you've seen the Matt Cardona and the Brian Myers teaser, Brian Myers going with the Impact Digital Championship. That's a belt I didn't think we'd ever see in figure form. Hopefully they can do like the TNA World Title from like that big gold one, not the first rendition, but like the other rendition. And of course they're also going with the NWA World Title too. Matt Cardona's gonna come with that one, and if they're anything like these ones, I'm excited. I don't buy the real belts because they're just $300, $400, $500, and it gets a little too expensive with the hobby I already have enough as it is. But yeah, no, if you like these figures, if you like posing your figures, these guys are gonna make a great display piece. I'm already making shelf space right now for them. Again, they're not. Unless you're going to delicately play with them, like they can, hold poses pretty well. You can hold them up there and whatnot. He drops them, that kind of stuff. But I would not be slamming these guys. The skin tones, the rubber feel to them. I want to say it's kind of like AEW figures. The only thing that obviously is the bow-leggedness. You can only get so much movement out of it. But then again, guys weren't doing, somersault flip spin kicks and whatnot. These are guys who literally were ground based, mat based, pull you to the ground and beat you with a spinning toe hold. Okay, you're not seeing any of these guys. None of these guys are flying off the top rope. Bruiser might come off the top rope on a clothesline in a rare case, but you probably didn't see Luthez. You probably never saw Vern Gagne doing any of that stuff, especially in their heyday. It was collar and elbow tie-ups, it was wrist locks, it was takedowns, it was drop toe holds, it was headlocks, front face locks, not even a DDT. There was no DDTs back when they were wrestling. DDTs were not until Jake the Snake Roberts accidentally invented that. So you're not looking at power. You might power slams, maybe a suplex, but you're not seeing power bombs, you're not seeing Canadian destroyers. That is not what this line is about. That is not what those wrestlers were about. The most, probably interesting or newest maneuver would have been Magnum TA's belly-to-belly suplex. That would have been blowing people's minds back in the 80s. Because Scott Steiner does it as a signature move nowadays, or did back in the day. But, yeah, we're talking like, it's like he would literally just get him like this, hook him, and then slam him down. And that was all it took back then. That was, what hyped the crowd. Nowadays, you gotta do flips and spin kicks and posing. I'm not saying wrestling is not, entertaining. It is, but it's a lot more gymnastic based nowadays than when it was where you had big burly guys just, as someone said, big meaty men slapping meat. So, anyway, that was my review for the Power Town figures again. If you didn't get these, you might find them for a little bit of money. They might bring out like a, leftover after they've fulfilled all their shipments. We're still waiting on Kerry Von Erich. When he shows up, I'll review him too. But I'm all in on these. Like I said, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, they're not going to look right with these ones posing, but the fact they got those belts, that's alone right there sells it. Maybe it's the start of something else. Maybe we'll get some more indie guys. Like FTC has been kind of non-existent anymore. I think the most recent thing they announced was they're going to do like Legends only, so the wrestling superstars of Rising Stars or whatever it was seems to be going away, which is a shame. You know, they were not the greatest quality play-wise, but pose-wise they were fine. You know, they look cool in their little plastic casings. I have all of them. But maybe this is the start of something. I'm waiting to see what the new Jeff Jarrett and the Shane Douglas look like. That will be an interesting one too, as well. So hopefully we will find more answers out. It's still June. July's coming up. Comic-Con comes up. Usually when Comic-Con comes up, that's when I believe Boss Fights announces, you know, usually their next wave, which I'm still waiting on my Ultimo Dragon, Vampiro, and Black Taurus, and all those. So hopefully they'll arrive. But I'm also excited to see what the next deluxe figures of them will be. I think it was Laredo Kid, Vampiro with an actual belt. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of belt game they have. But I'll tell you right now, Power Town's belt game is strong. These aren't hard plastic. You can't put them on the figure properly without having to sit there and cut into them or poke more holes into to try to get them wider so you can get them in there. These are solid belts. The gold does not look cheap. I mean, they don't look gaudy. They're not hard. I thought at first they were hard plastic. And upon further inspection, no, these are individual pieces. Individual pieces tapered onto there. The side plates are colored. It's some, like I said, I don't think Luthez says Luthez on his nameplate. That's such small print writing right there. Okay, so this one doesn't have really, there is an indentation of writing in there, but unless you have a magnifying glass, maybe, but I doubt it. It looks like it should have been colored fadely, like with a little bit of black paint, with a little bit etching to it, but still, it's so, I mean, look at that. It's even the side, you have 3 on each side. Usually belts cheap out and you get like 2 on each side. 3 on each side, 3 on each side. Now this one, even with, and it's in Japanese writing. I just realized, yeah, there's Japanese writing. So, in the paint decal, the paint detail in there, look at that. I mean, in the lines, perfect. The colors are proper. It's got some silver to it. Honestly, if I'm going to go with the best looking belt, though, out of all of them, I'm going to have to go with Magnum TA. Magnum TA, you've got this dark maroonish red. You've got a dark blue. You got whites in between. I mean, I'm just trying to, I know the camera sucks, and I apologize for that. I'm just trying to see. I mean, look at the detail there. That is a great detailed figure belt. They fit perfectly around the people. I haven't switched them around to anybody else, but from the looks of the torsos, maybe it might be too big on Vern Gagne, because he has, in the height wise too. Like, you can't compare him with the Mattel. You can't, you compare him with all those kind of stuff. But comparing them to them, I mean, look at that. That is, and if you look, I think Bruiser Brody was like 6'8", and Vern was like 6'1". So, in fact, let's find out. Vern Gagne. This is cool too. I didn't even talk about the boxes, but well, that's unfortunate. Oh, here we go. 5'11". He was 5'11". And Bruiser Brody. By the way, the boxes, well, these are going to go up on my display shelf separately, because next to him, I mean, like I said, you can just see what they look like. So he's 5'11". Bruiser was 6'8", 300 pounds. That's a 5'11" versus a 6'8" person if I've ever seen one. I mean, when I did pro wrestling, I'm 6'10", and I wrestled a guy who was about 5'6". He looked like a small child. So this is perfect. I mean, the body-wise, it's not the same bodies. This is an ultra figure. So again, if you missed out on this wave, I'm so sorry for you. Maybe they'll release more, but don't sleep on wave 2. And kind of put a little pressure on them to get wave 2 out. It's been over a year since I paid for these ones, and they finally arrived, but I'm told that the fall release of 2023 is supposed to have wave 2, so when does that get rolling? I would like to know who I'm purchasing so I can budget. Thanks again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this more out-of-box review of the figures. Again, like, they're great. They're great figures. They're not great for play because they're so expensive that they break, you will cry.